welcome to week 5. Week 5 is typically a very fun and very enjoyed, one of the favorite weeks of the class for most students, where we're going to talk about forecasting, thunderstorms, and tornadoes. Forecasting, there's not a whole lot to talk about. I'll just mention a few things briefly here. So in Chapter 9, it's all about forecasting. There are various methods and ways that meteorologists forecast the weather. I will let you read about those, the specific methods in the book. The book does a pretty comprehensive job of describing those. I need not linger on those in a short video here. But some small points to touch on. First of all, forecasting teleconnections and what you can expect for a seasonal forecast based off of those. The teleconnections are the connections for weather in a particular area based on what is happening in a different part of the world. In the previous video, I talked about El Nino and La Nina. That is a main driver of weather around the world. Why? Because it works with that chimney of the world over Indonesia. When that chimney of the world is altered, that alters the weather around the world. So you can base or get an idea of what the season is going to be like, at least statistically. This is just based off of statistics in the past. So over the East Coast, St. Louis, Washington State, California, each of those regions have a different response to El Nino and La Nina, which forecasters know based off of the history for El Ninos and La Ninas in those areas. So the teleconnections, the seasonal forecasts, are based off of what we see in the past for certain what are called modes. So El Nino is a mode, La Nina is a mode. There's a bunch of other teleconnections too that really go beyond the scope of this course. But that's how we get a seasonal forecast. Then there's some finer points here. The difference between accuracy and skill. Accuracy is how close your forecast is to what actually happened. If I predict 85 degrees and it ends up being 85 degrees, then my forecast was pretty accurate. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm a great forecaster. Let's say you live in Arizona, or let's make it even easier. Let's say you live in San Diego, California, where the temperature is somewhere in the mid-80s every single day of the year, save for maybe a couple. If I'm predicting 85 degrees every single day of the year, I'm probably pretty accurate, but I'm not showing much skill just because it's always that way. The skill of a forecaster is when I forecast better than what the climatology is. The climatology of San Diego is mid-80s and sunny, pleasant weather. But if I forecast a rainstorm and the rainstorm happens, I'm showing skill because I'm able to forecast something that doesn't typically happen. That's the difference between accuracy and skill. You can be accurate and not have skill, but if you're showing skill, you're typically accurate. I want to leave Chapter 9 with just a story for you in my own personal experience. Forecasting is not the easiest thing to do, and as a weather forecaster, there's not many other professions that really put you out there for criticism as often as a weather forecaster does. When I was forecasting road weather conditions in Utah, and what that means real quick, road weather forecasting is different than regular weather forecasting. We are forecasting what will happen on the roads. So just because it's snowing 2 inches on the ground does not mean that 2 inches is going to stick on the roads. Okay, that aside, that's what I was doing in Utah. Part of that was also forecasting for the Salt Lake City airport. I was on forecast duty at night, and I put on a forecast, and that forecast process takes about 2 hours to complete. That is just the typing portion. That does not include the actual thinking and logically predicting what will happen. But that is me typing things out. So I decided to go with a particular weather forecast, numerical weather forecast model. I think I went with the GFS, the Global Forecast System model. I chose the wrong model. It was 4 hours too late. The thing of it was, I actually did catch my mistake when I was done forecasting, or very close to done forecasting. I noticed on the satellite it was coming in closer, or I'm sorry, sooner than what I was actually typing in all of the little forecasts that I had to do. The problem was, what happens if I suddenly call up everybody or issue a new email and tell them a new time, and then that's wrong? Or what if people don't get the mixed message? I decided, after just talking with someone real briefly, I just stuck with the original message and then told the forecaster coming in behind me of my mistake and that it's probably going to come in early. Sure enough, it did. It did come in early, and people weren't quite prepared because it was a little bit too early from what I could forecast. The big problem about that was it shut down the Salt Lake City airport. It was actually snowing so hard that the snow crews couldn't keep up with plowing the runways, and the runways got covered, and planes can't land on covered runways, so the airport had significant delays. So I was actually part of a multi-million-dollar decision of whether or not to, I caused a multi-million-dollar problem, perhaps, by not forecasting the snow in time. There are weather forecasters out there who have to go through this day in and day out. I've been responsible for telling people to not blow sirens, tornado sirens, and I've also told people to blow tornado sirens before. So it is a big responsibility, and sometimes it goes wrong. Hopefully you also give credit for the times that it goes right, and get an appreciation for the amount of work and effort and knowledge that goes into forecasting.